Morning. My name is Alex Fields, and I want to share a little bit of knowledge with you today about hand protection. Now, my background, I spent several years in the power plant refinery maintenance industry. I was a boilermaker for several years and became a foreman on a few jobs until one day upper management came to me and asked me would I consider moving into the safety department, which I did. And years later, a friend of mine came to me and said they only did that because they felt I was too dangerous to remain on my tools out in the field. I have not verified the validity of that statement, but nevertheless, here I am. I want to talk about protecting your hands, okay? The hands, the tools we take for granted, our money makers, because this is how we make money, okay? This is how we put food on our table and how we keep a roof over our families' heads. Anything happen to these hands here, things are going to be totally different, okay? As an example, there should be a piece of Velcro strip with your hand out on the table, or if you prefer, just make a number 4 with your hands. If you aren't that dexterous like me, I need a little help. I'm gonna take this Velcro, I'm gonna wrap it around my hand to where my thumb is immobilized. And what I want you to do now is to try to pick up a pencil or pen and sign your name. Okay? Can you tie your shoes? Can you untie and tie your shoes? It's going to take a while to adapt to doing this. I have no doubt that you can. The human body is very miraculous and can adapt to most anything. But in the immediate time frame, life is going to be different. So I intend to help you keep that from happening. If you would grab your handout, and if you want to read along with me, it says hand hazards includes chemicals, electricity, machines and equipment, extreme heat or cold, sharp tools, vibrations, and friction. Okay? So let's go with some way we can control these. In other words, we want to either eliminate or mitigate the hazards to our hands to keep this from happening. First step is engineering controls. All right? Engineering controls is where the equipment or our workstation is designed in such a way that it will prevent us from hurting our hands, like machine guards, to keep us from putting our hands where they don't belong, okay? And then we have what they call dead man switches. If I have to operate a machine, both of my hands have to be in such a position as to where while the machine is in operation, it is impossible for them to be injured. If one of my hands isn't in that position, holding a switch or a button, the machine will not operate. The next is administrative controls. Administrative controls include training, which is what we're doing here, and also policies, like hand protection policies, glove policies. What they want you to do, lockout, tag out. Everybody knows what knockout, tag out is, right? That's if you're going to make any repairs on any equipment where you have to put your hands beyond those machine guards. That equipment needs to not be able to operate. So what you're going to do is you're going to disconnect the power supply to that equipment, whether it be electricity, whether it be fluid like hydraulic, or even air, pneumatic. In other words, you're going to make it impossible for that to move. Okay, the optimum way would be to have a personal lock, put it on that disconnect device so it cannot be turned on without you removing your lock. Sometimes that is not possible and you have to use a tag. Okay, and you place that tag as close to the disconnect device as possible to let people know before they turn it on, hey, they need to check with you and make sure that you aren't in harm's way. The last resort for protecting your hands or any other part of your body is what? PPE, personal protective equipment. For most of the time for your hands, that's going to mean gloves. Just any glove? Can we put on any glove? If I want to go hammer some nails outside with a pair of just plastic nitrile gloves, would that help me? No, that's not going to help me one bit. So we have different type of gloves for the jobs. So how do you determine which type of glove you're going to use? Okay, you're going to analyze the job, right? Some people call it a job hazard analysis. Some people call it job safety analysis. But what you're going to do is determine what your task is and what do you have to do to complete that task, the steps. And each one of the steps, what are the hazards you're going to encounter? whether it be chemicals or putting your hands in tight places or whatever. And then you're going to determine a way to either eliminate that hazard or mitigate it to where if something did occur, it would not be as severe. And that's where you would note your gloves and what, not just any kind of gloves, but what type of gloves. Such as, you may be just carrying wood, moving boxes. You want to wear just plain old leather gloves. Just plain old leather gloves to protect your hands. What if you're going to be moving metal? Okay, metal, sharp metal, whether you're cutting metal. You want to protect yourself against cuts. Thereby, you would want to use cut-resistant gloves. Okay? And remember, there are different types of cut-resistant gloves. What I mean by that is there are different levels of protection. And they are marked by ANSI of what level of protection that these offer. It could be a cut level 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. All right? How about, like I said before, if you're going to have to be pounding something with a mallet or putting your hand in the tight places where you could possibly be bumped up against something hard, we call those knuckle busters. Leather gloves, of course, but this has something added. They're impact resistant. They have pads on top of pads on your knuckles and palm on the back of your hands. Okay, the impact resistant. And these here happen to be impact resistant and cut resistant. Now, the type of gloves you wear in our industry, that's going to mainly depend on what the client wants you to use, right? Or your own different company policy. But these gloves here, they are impact resistant and cut resistant, okay? What if you're going to be working with chemicals? Do you want to use these? Now, chemicals might soak right through this, right? Okay. So, here's what we're going to do. Chemical gloves. But remember, there's different type of chemical gloves also, different levels of protection. So how do we know what type of chemical gloves to use handling this chemical? We check the SDS sheet for that chemical and we look it up. Okay? They should provide us with the information we need to know what type of glove that we need, what type of level of protection. What if you're an electrician? Okay? You're an electrician. You're going to want something to insulate you against electricity. That's what these are for. Whatever the task, we have developed something to try to protect us to mitigate that. But remember, this is the last line of defense. And just because you put these gloves on, that does not mean that there's no way you're possibly going to get hurt. You still have to do the little things. First off, you have to maintain awareness of what you're doing at all times. Okay, and once you plan your job, as we said with that JSA or the JHA, once you plan your job, stick to the plan. Don't move away from it. And remember certain rules. Like we have certain rules in boiler making to where if we are connecting two flanges, we do not put our hands in between the flange. Because why? They could come together and do that to us, okay? Just to point that out, there's a little story I have. There's a little story I have. It probably one of the main reasons why I chose to get into safety. We're on a job, been there 30 days. On the last day, we're doing one of the last tasks, and that was to connect a delta valve up to the main piping. Okay, a delta valve, it's huge. This thing was maybe 12 feet in circumference. We had to use air hoist to air it up, 4 of them on different corners of this big, massive valve. And what you do is you pull on the string and it raises it up. Okay, while it was going up, it gets stuck. It wouldn't move. Okay, it wouldn't move. And we were trying to figure out why it was stuck. Everybody stopped and it wouldn't go up. Even though we're activating the hoist, it wouldn't move nowhere. This one guy, as we were looking around trying to see why it wasn't going up, this one guy looked in between the flange and he noticed the gasket was out of position. The gasket is what keeps it from leaking. And you know what he did? Even though one of the main rules is not to put your hands in between the flanges, he just did a little, just that, real quick, just a little second, to push that gasket in position. Well, Let me tell you why it was not raising, okay? One of the chain links on the hoist was caught on a piece of material, another piece of equipment, one of the links, and it was preventing it from going up. And as luck or not luck would have it, the second he decided to put his finger in there to push that gasket back in place, that link freed itself from that equipment. And what do you think happened? Yeah. He lost the tip of his finger. And to make matters worse, 2 hours later, we got our layoffs. 2 hours before he was going to be able to go home to his family and enjoy spending that money with them that he had been on that job making, he lost the tip of his finger. So something like that kind of helped my decision to go into safety. Please, if you learn anything else, learn that you cannot make money if your hands are damaged. Learn that your family are going to be emotionally distraught with your injury because they love you and they care for you and they don't want you to be hurt. All right? Please, at all times, follow what you're supposed to be doing. Make a plan for your job. Follow the plan. Follow the administrative controls. Follow your policies. And look out for each other and maintain awareness. This is an unforgiving industry. Okay? I want all of y'all to be safe. And please, protect your hands.